Hi there, I'm Felix.
And I'm Rowan.
And you're watching Gas TV. Today we're going to give you the lowdown on what's involved in importing guitar-related tone woods, particularly rosewood.
And how this might affect your gas.
So I recently got a call from our favorite local music store, Music Junction. I'm not sure why we keep plugging them, they're not paying us.
Yeah.
Note to future advertisers, if you want to see your logo here instead of Music Junction's, call us. Anyway, Music Junction called us, Tim at Music Junction, the guitar guy down there, called it to let me know that I wouldn't be able to get a hold of any more Yamaha guitars that I usually recommend my students buy. I have these, I love the L series of Yamaha acoustic guitars.
Oh yeah.
So for under $1,000, they're beautiful guitars. They're like $600 Australian, $700 Australian street, thereabouts. Yeah. And I pretty much have all my students buy them as their next upgrade down. And apparently, someone at Yamaha stuffed up their CITES documentation for rosewoods. And Yamaha Australia, we're mid-2017, will not have any new stock of guitars for 2 to 3 months. It's a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
That's a pretty big deal. I had vaguely heard about the CITES thing coming into effect in January 2017, and a whole lot of guitar makers and people in the industry bitching about it. Gary Rizal, a good friend of ours who you've probably seen on my channel if you know me at all, can't stop talking about it. He absolutely hates this whole issue with rosewood restrictions on imports. So, but I've never really figured out what it was about. So we decided to take a closer look at it and share it with you. Legal disclaimer?
Oh yeah, we don't know. We're not lawyers.
we don't know anything. We're guitarists. If you're taking legal advice from us, you've got problems. So maybe go and check this up yourself and make sure you get proper advice before you actually go and do anything rosewood related. But this is what we found out, at least. Yeah.
So what's CITES? So what are we talking about here?
See, this I can answer. CITES stands for the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora. That's a mouthful.
Boring.
I actually find this fascinating. All right. So roughly what it is, it's an international convention. All right. It's basically about, I think, 183 states or countries now are part of this convention. And I think it's highly important. It protects endangered species. So there's over 5,800 species of animals and 30,000 species of plants protected under this convention against overexploitation through international trade.
So we are encouraging this.
Yeah, no, this is good stuff. But the issue has been, I think rosewood has gotten caught up in this, and there might be, I think there are some issues with it. But let's talk about what woods are in CITES. So you obviously had a Brazilian rosewood. Okay. Yeah. I now have learned the scientific name for Brazilian rosewood. It's Dalbergia nigra. I think I'm pronouncing it right.
I'm trying to get that Dalbergia right.
Dalbergia. Say that. Say it to the camera.
Dalbergia.
So apparently Dalbergia is, I think I gather, the scientific name for rosewood, and then there are various species of rosewood, obviously. So Brazilian rosewood, as everyone knows, or at least has a sense of, is highly sought after. It's used a lot in guitars, Fenders, Gibsons, Martins in the 60s. And they don't, from what I gather, they don't reproduce in the wild very effectively and started becoming overforested. So they went on Appendix 1 of CITES as a highly endangered species in about 1992. Yeah. And after 1992, you weren't allowed to harvest it, full stop. That's it. So as far as I'm aware, all stocks of Brazilian rosewoods from pre-1992, that's it. Yeah. The issue, so that's why Brazilian rosewood so well sought after. It's probably fetches a pretty penny if you can actually find a guitar with one now. But the issue with this more recent set of restrictions that came into effect in January 2017 is that all other rosewood species, all other Dalbergia species got included into the CITES list. Yeah. But in Appendix 2, which is the lesser less stringent set of restrictions, not the species one. So this issue in January 2017 affects everything else except Brazilian rosewood, which is still highly endangered and still highly protected. Just to clarify, all Dalbergia species include Honduran rosewood, Indian rosewood, East Indian rosewood, cocobolo, bubinga. So it's actually quite a very large swathe of tone woods we use in the guitar industry, which is an issue. It's huge.
Yeah,
I mean, we use it in.
Well, it's here, isn't it?
Well, it's right there, and you like roses. We were just talking about this. Rosewood next. So why?
Yeah. So why is Dalbergia included in the CITES?
So the story is that we have the East Asian or Southeast Asian furniture industry to thank for this new restrictions on rosewood. Apparently, illegally harvested rosewood accounted for up to 35% of the value of all illegally trafficked wild animals and plants. That's like over a third.
Yeah.
Which you can imagine is a huge issue, right? So despite the guitar industry sourcing sustainable rosewood, Indian rosewood in particular, the Asian furniture market was largely responsible for these illegally sourced.
Too many black market coffee tables.
Yes, I'll never look at a rosewood coffee table the same way again. But because of that, the international community had to step in and regulate all rosewoods.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was an overreach, but
So we're regulating Indian rosewood as well now.
Everything. Every rosewood species, every Dalbergia species, which I assume is then every rosewood species, because of thank you, Asian furniture market.
Not IKEA.
Not IKEA. I don't know when they use rosewood. They don't use. I don't know if you can call what IKEA uses wood.
Like chipboard. I love IKEA.
Chipboard and printed paper for wood, right?
Yeah, IKEA. All right. So what does this do for the guitar industry?
All right. So what does this mean? All right. So to be clear, these January 2017 restrictions are not a ban on all rosewood species. Brazilian rosewood, it is illegal to harvest Brazilian rosewood post 1992. So that hasn't changed. Brazilian rosewood is super endangered and shouldn't be touched. But all other rosewood species other than Brazilian rosewood, these are simply restrictions to try and police the harvesting. So you can actually still harvest all other rosewood species post January 2017. But restrictions come in place in monitoring their import and export, so their flow across countries, essentially. So what this means is that if you, let's talk about sales first, I suppose, would be the easiest thing. If you and I were trying to buy or sell guitars, in fact, I had this thing I mentioned in an earlier video about looking to try to experiment with multi-scale guitars. I went to Rondo Music in the US and tried to get an agile multi-scale to bring in to experiment with a cheap multi-scale, a cost-effective multi-scale. And they had rosewood on the neck, and they simply weren't willing to deal with the CITES documentation required to export a rosewood guitar from the US to Australia, despite them having had to deal with it coming from China to the US, because that's where those guitars are made.
Wow.
Yeah, but but in fact, so if you were, there's two issues to look at when you're buying and selling guitars across state lines or between countries, and that is if it's wood harvested before January 2017, which is pretty easy to identify if you have proof of purchase or manufacture before January 2017, obviously. All you need to do is you do need to get to your local authorities, whoever your customs authorities are in whatever country you're in, and get what they call a CITES pre-convention certificate. And there's a fee associated with it. I understand the fee in the US is $75, so it's actually steep.
Yeah.
So you got to add that to the cost of whatever you're selling. So it probably wouldn't be worth trying to sell $300 cord.
Yeah.
internationally. You got, when the certificate's already a good third of your of your guitar price. So yeah, but as far as I can tell from what I've seen, the process is reasonably straightforward.
Okay.
Right, as you sign a declaration of some sort, you provide some proof of some documentation proving your date of purchase or serial number that might help establish the date of manufacture, and pay your fee, and you pretty much get it. Yep. If you have a guitar that has wood harvested after January 2017, rosewood harvested after January 2017, it gets more stringent there. So then you actually then need to get an export certificate from the country of export and import certificate from the destination country as well. And I understand that the documentation is probably a bit more lengthy and it's a bit more of a process. So that can be a bit of a pain.
Okay.
But
so that's selling. What happens if I wanted to take this traveling internationally?
There's, as it turns out, the CITES regulations aren't there to be simply painful to existing owners. They're actually trying to be as helpful as they can, or as reasonable as they can be. So there's a 10 kilo exemption for rosewood parts. Now the 10 kilos only applies to the rosewood itself, so not the whole guitar. So if you were traveling with this guitar on a plane and carrying it, it'd be well under the 10 kilo exemption, and you wouldn't need any documentation, just walking out. That includes Brazilian rosewood as well, interestingly. So despite Brazilian rosewood being highly protected, you can also travel under the 10 kilo exemption for Brazilian rosewood. I'm pretty sure. Do double check that.
And that's only the rosewood portion, isn't it?
Only the rosewood portion. So this is obviously well under 10 kilos.
So you could take about 20 strats.
That's right.
Give or take.
You could. Don't laugh. You might have 20 strats. We got gas here. Have you seen the title of this YouTube channel? But yeah, so technically you could, the 10 kilo exemption. But that seems pretty reasonable for traveling. To be clear, the exemption applies to non-commercial transport, non-commercial use of the instruments. So basically, if you sold the guitar, obviously, and were shipping it because of a sale, that's a commercial transaction. If you were traveling as a musician and you weren't going to hand carry it or put it in luggage, and were shipping it or carrying it to your destination for a convention or overseas gig, which you get plenty of, that would be a non-commercial transaction as well. And that, I suppose you then have to provide documentation to prove that it's not a sale, or something like that. I assume that's what would have happened.
So the idea would be to take it on the plane.
I assume, if I were doing it, that would be the easiest way to explain that I'm not selling it, I suppose.
I've never shipped a guitar for travel reasons.
Yeah.
Do people do that?
I think important people do that.
No, we're not important enough.
Super talented guitar legends do that. Not us.
No.
Not us. So what other effects on the guitar industry might we see from these restrictions, right? So Fender, as an example, has been using wood called Pau Ferro for a little while now on some of their Stratocasters for fingerboards. And Pau Ferro is, the scientific name for it is...
Oh, here we go.
Libidibia ferrea. Say it with me.
Libidibia.
Libidibia ferrea. Formerly Caesalpinea ferrea. We would make excellent scientists.
Yeah, it's Brazilian, I'm guessing.
Yeah, it is Brazilian. Yeah. So it's also known as Brazilian ironwood.
Okay.
Morado or leopard tree.
And is it supposed to be like rosewood?
I suppose the thing is, I think the point of it being picked is that it has similar properties too, right? Would the material make a huge difference? You actually have a strong opinion about this, I know, because I don't particularly like maple fingerboards, aside from the fact that I own quite a few with maple fingerboards. I love ebony.
Yeah.
But they're both hard, and I can't explain why I like ebony but not
Well,
maple.
ebony looks lovely. I like ebony because it looks pretty.
Right. Okay.
Like it's black. It's like pretty heavy metal.
So maybe I'm just facetious. I like black fingerboards, but you love rosewood. You absolutely love rosewood.
Yeah. Right? I've never really noticed a difference in sound, or I don't care that much. Maybe. But I think it feels like, it kind of feels softer.
Yep.
And you get a bit of, but you do almost get a bit of grip. I noticed, like you stick to rosewood a bit.
Actually, that's a good point. I think you actually stick more to ebony than you do
You
maple. Yeah, actually, that's a good point because the one thing about the maple next is that it is super glossy.
Well, that's the other thing I can't handle is the gloss. Like, it feels like you're playing on plastic sometimes.
We were talking about rosewood.
We got on a tangent.
Yes. All right, coming back to rosewood. All right, so I'd agree with you. The thing about rosewood next is that they have a softer feel, and they're not generally they never finish in gloss. So they've always got that smooth, nice finish to them playing. That's probably what I enjoy about them as well. The ebony necks we have are actually the same, but they're not glossed either. So you get that natural wood. Whereas a lot of the maple ones, the general ones we get, are glossy finish. So maybe that's the difference. But at the end of the day, if it makes you feel better, if the neck makes you feel better, it makes you play better. Full stop, right?
Yeah, and like if it looks pretty, it makes you play better as well.
I like looking pretty when I play.
Yeah, same.
Other effects we might see in the guitar industry, though, apart from obviously tone woods changing, is what happens when mahogany and ebony get onto the CITES list. I can imagine that happening.
That's a big thing. Well, that's sort of your high-end instruments.
Well, that's it, isn't it?
Because like all the high-end stuff seems to have mahogany back and sides, and
well, mahogany is used in a lot of acoustic guitars. I mean, it's an important tone wood, right? It's got a lot. It's traditionally been the go-to tone wood for a lot of acoustic guitars, classical guitars included. So we're going to see different wood guitars now.
Maybe.
See, I couldn't play an all maple. I don't like. There are all maple acoustic guitars out there, and I'm not partial to them.
You know, what about arch tops? Because arch tops are often
maple, okay, I do, but you know what? I actually would love to see somebody build a rosewood back.
Yeah, okay.
Arch top, but that's not going to happen, is it?
Probably not now. No. Is that the thing? That's the thing, though, isn't it?
There's got to be. There will be around. Look, my Martins all have rosewood. Indian. This one is not rosewood. This is sapel, I think.
Oh, I didn't know what that is.
Well, actually, that's a good point. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's sapel. That's a Taylor 414 CE. That's my workhorse. That's a good point, actually. And I use it every single day, not realizing that it's not rosewood. Let me look it up, just to make sure. Yeah, okay. All right, this is how much I know about my daily workhorse guitar. Not sapel. It's a Bonco. I don't know anything about a Bonco, but it is not rosewood, and I absolutely love it. I'm perfectly happy with that wood. So maybe there's hope for us yet. I can get used to a Bonco, whatever that might be.
You could fool a lot of people.
You thought it was rosewood, didn't you? Rosewood.
I mean, I just see a brown wood and think it's rosewood.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure this Martin, and somebody's going to prove me wrong on YouTube now, in the comments. No, that's got to be rosewood. That's definitely rosewood, isn't it? You can see the look and feel of it. Prove me wrong if it isn't. That's fine. I'm happy to be wrong. But look, that's a mahogany neck there. Yeah. So mahogany's next, maybe, and I think that's an ebony. No, actually.
Yeah, it's definitely.
That's ebony?
Yeah.
That's an ebony neck. So if ebony and mahogany got onto that list too, literally everything in this guitar apart from the plastic and the frets.
Everything's going to be maple.
Be an issue. That's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, this is... It's not a minor thing. I mean, this is the world we live in. I don't think you'd ever make the argument that this is probably not the right thing to do for our environment.
Yeah.
If we want to protect species, but this has far-reaching implications potentially on our industry. You're going to get a period where traditional tone woods are seen in certain number of years, and then as the decades go on, you're just going to start seeing different guitars, possibly different sounds. It's changing. It's changing the way we play.
You might start seeing more maple, completely maple instruments. Canada's economy is going to go through the roof.
That's right. Kind of start buying us Canadian dollars and moving there, hey? Yeah. What's that about? I kind of a Canadian accent. That's terrible. Sorry, Canadians. So that was our rundown of the 2017 CITES regulations affecting rosewood.
I hope you learned a lot from it, because I certainly did.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting stuff in there. Implications we're probably not going to understand for quite a while yet.
Yeah, and woods that we don't understand yet.
So, if you enjoyed this, please do subscribe to this channel for more content from us.
And follow our Facebook and our Twitter.
Yep, we have a support group, the gas support group, because we will help you with your gas.
Yeah, we're out to help.
We did say how we'll help.
No.
Yeah, but join the group. We'd be more than happy to have you on there. Leave comments in the comment section below. Do have a chat to us. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to hear what your thoughts are on these rosewood restrictions. If you have any particularly funny stories about your experiences with these new restrictions, that would be interesting to us as well. Yeah. But till next time, bye.
See ya.
Do you find when you put two guitars together, they breathe and another pops up out of nowhere? Then when you try to explain that, your other half looks at you like you're crazy. If so, click here to subscribe to Gas TV, because multiplying breathing guitars is a real thing.